So yeah, so normally we would have had an opportunity to get together, have a feast, enjoy, and wrap up in a more celebratory way. Um, Thanks to COVID, we're not going to be able to do that. But I did want to have an opportunity to get together because I want to reflect back to all of you uh, what an amazing experience it's been for me, um, particularly this summer. This summer, I had a chance to touch base with all of you through the summer as you were working on your various sprints and various projects. And I could see the evolution in how all of you were treating the summer versus when we all met in the fall. And so I thought it was such a transformative thing to see how the progression in your thinking, your approach, all changed. But what it caused me to think about was how to restructure all the courses I teach. So thanks to all of you, I'm redoing the syllabi for the two classes that we're teaching because you've taught me a lot. Um, but one of the things I wanted to share with you was a realization, and this is something that I intuitively felt when I first launched the MSIM degree program, and I intuitively felt over the years, but I could never put my finger exactly on it. And then as I listened to the summer sprint updates today, it just reinforced this idea that it kind of finally gelled in my mind. You know, if you think back on what the IM program was all about, you could actually say it was about three things. Yes, there were a set of skills around finance and marketing and new product development and strategy and things like that. And yes, you had an opportunity to learn how to put those all together into business plans that you could launch ventures around or that you could participate in competitions around. But at a third layer, at the very core, the things that people talked about made a difference in their summer sprints all started touching on what I think are really the core mindset values of the IM program. So if you separate mindset from skill sets, so skill sets are things that you learn functionally, the finance, the strategy, things like that. The mindsets are really attitudinal things. How do you change your attitude about things? And when I sat back and thought about it, you know, what are the key attitude things that I wanted to give all of you a chance to discover within yourselves? It was really built around what I call the C's, the five C's. The first is curiosity. I really, really wanted to encourage all of you to be curious because the world starts with being curious about why the world wags. Right? And there's a famous line in T.H. White, Once and Future Kings, where Merlin's advising the young King Arthur, and he goes, the best thing for being sad is to learn something. Learn why the world wags. And that line always struck with me because I think that's what curiosity is all about. It's really trying to understand the world around you. And whether that's in the context of a business, it's in the context of a personal relationship, it's in the context of negotiation, just being curious is the starting point. And that's the core of my five whys, right? Why, right? It's part of being curious. The second piece, though, is accepting complexity. The world is not a simple place. It's not just a digital marketing problem. It's not just a electrical engineering controls problem. It's not just a robotic. The world is actually a complex system. And some of you mentioned this, you know, the systems thinking approach. And I think that's fundamental too, is I wanted to incubate in all of you this view that the world starts with it's a complex system, but to accept it at complexity and then have the ability then to chunk it down, to break it up into pieces, to figure out how to start, where to attack things, and accept that the world is messy, that you may have these pieces that you're trying to put together, but that's part of the complexity and the skills of thinking about the world in a more richer way. The third step, though, is creativity. And it really is creativity, the number one thing I hope you discovered this year, and it came out in some of the sprints, is creativity comes from diversity, diversity of viewpoint. And that diversity of viewpoint comes from seeking out perspectives from people all over the map. You know, in these times of social justice and diversity and inclusion, strife we see in society today, you know, it strikes me as if all of us took that worldview, that the best outcomes, the most creative solutions come from having the most diverse input, that will go a long way to helping us figure out what do we do to fix many of society's biggest challenges. And so, in your thinking in the world, Yeah, it helps to have a diverse view within a company, engineers, marketers, salespeople. But as you step out in the world, getting a diverse view of the people you're trying to help, not just the people who are local to your business or local to your nonprofit, but the larger society. And thinking about it more broadly, that the more diverse the perspectives you get, the stronger you are. And my belief is those diverse views often come in ways that are surprising. One of the reasons I'm a big advocate of music, musicians, and artists is they have a way of challenging the way we view the world in unexpected ways and surprising us with a perspective, which is why I was so joyful when Ron said, Kevin, I really want to spend my summer really, really seeing if I could make a go of this music. And that to me is like the ultimate expression of the ability to say, I'm going to bring a different view to the world. Because an artist starts with a blank sheet of paper. An artist isn't trying to make something incrementally better. An artist is trying to create a new way to give us a way of thinking about the world, whether it be through an oral experience or visual experience. And that's one of the powers of being an artist. So I hope the third leg of the stool, the C, is creativity. The fourth is really confidence, though, and I saw this as well. I was hoping that through the year, through getting up at 8:30 in the fall, through getting up every week to do an update, through getting up and doing multiple pitches, going out, doing customer interviews with people you've never met before, asking these questions that you're concerned about whether or not you're offending anyone, living through very tough team experiences where you have differences of opinions, differences of experiences, through all those cycles, in the end, that you would develop the confidence. It's what Yun Ting was referring to when he said, he stood up and was pitching these products. He wasn't uptight about it because he had done it so many times before. And it's really this confidence then that you can step out in the world, take on the world's problems, and yeah, you don't know what the answer to it is, but you're curious about why is it this way? You're actually not just curious, but you're accepting a complexity. You accept that it's messy, and you say, okay, let's figure this out. Let's figure out all the pieces. Let's figure out all the stakeholders, all that piece. And then you have the creativity that says, hey, let's get diverse viewpoints. Let's not just look at our worldview. Let's look at everyone's worldview. Let's really understand that because that's the best solutions and the most diverse input. And that gives you then the confidence then, the agency that you can make a difference. And then underlying all of this, though, is the most important C, and that's compassion. It's really compassion. It's the idea that you want to do things in the world that do good for people. Design thinking talks about the first step of understanding is, to have empathy for your customer, develop that understanding, get to the emotional hook. So there's a pragmatic value to understanding, really understanding the person that you're trying to help. But there's a broader societal thing, which is my belief that all of you have a good heart. You wouldn't have taken this program without it. I've gotten to know you over the year. All of you have good hearts. In the end, all of you want to make this a better world. All of you think this can be a better world. So none of you are cynics who have said, I give up, that this world is not worth fixing, it can't be fixed. All of you believe this world can be fixed. Sure, we're in tough times. Sure, each of us in our own world situations, our own country situations, have challenges. But it's all of you who have curiosity, accepting of complexity, creativity, agency and confidence, and most important of all, the compassion to go out and make this a better world. And so, to me, if there was anything that I hoped all of you would walk out the door after the IM program, is really having experienced and discovered within yourself those 5 things, because I've seen it in all of you, and I've seen it expressed, beginning to be expressed even more in your summer sprints. And I encourage you to listen to that voice going forward, because I have no way of knowing what solutions the world needs. I have no way of knowing what even the problems will be, but I have great confidence, and I can go home at night sleeping well, knowing that all of you are the ones who will make this a better world. And so I wanted to share that with you because, to me, I hope you realize now that the IM program wasn't about launching ventures. It wasn't even about winning 100K competitions. Those are all vehicles. Those are all methods to hoping, creating situations where you could discover these more deeper things about yourself. And so I thank all of you for allowing me to be part of that journey. I am so glad to hear that all of you will stay connected to each other because I think going forward, I hope that you all feel that you're part of this larger worldwide community of transformative leaders with heart that I hope that we're helping create here, and that you all continue to reach out to each other, stay connected to each other, commiserate, help, just stay in touch. Because the world, as we grow, having a common core set of people that you can come back to and feel grounded with and explore and have that, had this common experience will be really powerful. So thank you.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to say briefly how much I enjoyed working with each of you and watching you grow. And per Kevin's earlier comment, it was so inspiring to see the diversity of the work that you've done this past year and the growth you've come along. And I was very pleased to see that many of you thought that networking is a key skill that you learned over the course of the year, because that's my key word for all of you going forward is to continue to build those relationships based on these 5 components, 5 C's Kevin just said. Build those relationships with people, have curiosity, and figure out what you want to do next by leveraging those relationships. Thank you for giving me the time to work with you.
I just want to say congratulations, stay healthy, stay happy, and continue to change the world. I'd love to see everyone today walk the walk and talk the talk. It was really uplifting to hear how comfortable you were with applying so many of the concepts from my class and other classes, and it was very impressive. So congratulations. I know you guys are gonna just change the world and make it a better place. Stay healthy. Congratulations.
So normally you'd be walking across the stage wearing a cap and gown. Sam would read your name or someone would read your name. I'd shake your hand. You turn around and pose for the photo with the photographer. So imagine that's all happening. Yeah, on a more serious note, I do hope, we started a tradition last year, what we call the Backyard Bash, where we welcome people back to campus for part of our community every year. And I know all of you will be spread to the wind, all parts of the world. But as much as you can, make it back. I do hope you will make it back, and hopefully we'll be able to connect in person. But let me go through and read the names. So I'm going to read the names of the people who are graduating as a result of this end of the summer sprint. There's a handful of you who are coming back in the fall, and we'll have a little celebration at the end of the fall semester then for you. But so first one graduating at the end of the summer is Shrushti. So shall we hold the applause or I just read the names? Why don't I just read the names and we can do the okay. Hai Ting is also graduating this summer. Alok, Nirant, Lynn, Danielle, George, Christina, Ern, Deepesh, Eric, Jean, Jonas, Priyanka, Pinar, Ishmael, Leanne, Ashton, Chandini, Puneet, Sai, Yunting. So, applause for all. Normally I would have proposed a toast, and as all of you know, I have on my desk here the boxes that all of you I handed to when we were last together at the data science class right before the COVID thing shut down. I am saving that bottle of sake though until we're back together physically. Sake will keep. So I'll save that so that we can toast together when we're together next. But I also am not going to say goodbye because I hope that all of you will stay in touch. If even just to send postcards from the edges, letting us know how you're doing, always happy to hear. But more importantly, anytime that any of us can be a sounding board for your ideas, sounding board for your thoughts, I will be more than happy. You've got us for life, and it would be a joy for us to continue to stay connected. So with that,